Guys, we are going to check out the most disturbing games based on a true story. Or true events. Well, you get what I meant. So, we're gonna go start. Oh, once I unmute. Did I redo my intro? Nah, screw it.
A jump scare, a chase scene. Most disturbing games follow the same formula. Jump scare, a chase scene, then repeat. But these ones are different because they actually happened. These are disturbing games based on true events. In Town of Light, you play as Renee, a 16-year-old girl exploring the ruins of a long-abandoned psychiatric hospital. She's trying to piece together her own past. Her memories are scattered and fragmented, and as you walk through the empty halls, you'll start to uncover the truth.
Hey, chat, if you've played the game that they mentioned, press 1 in the chat.
Isn't just telling Renee's story. It's telling the story of a real place and the people who are locked inside it. This is Volterra Psychiatric Hospital, the real-life location that Town of Light is based on. Unlike most horror games that create fictional settings, this one places you in a world that once existed. A place where real people lived, suffered, and in many cases, never left. Volterra was one of Italy's most well-known asylums. It was built in the late 1800s during a time when mental illness was widely misunderstood.
Hey, yo, Gamebot, what's up?
It held over 6,000 patients, a staggering number for a single facility. But Volterra wasn't just a hospital, it was a place of isolation, where people society didn't understand were locked away. Many of the people sent to Volterra weren't exactly what we would consider mentally ill today. Some people were put there for conditions like depression, anxiety, epilepsy, or even something as simple as just being a little bit different from the norm. Women in particular were often institutionalized for being too emotional or difficult to control. Others ended up there simply because their families didn't want them anymore. And once you were admitted, there was very little hope of leaving. Over the years, the hospital developed a reputation for its cruel treatments. Patients were subjected to electroshock therapy, often without anesthesia, and in some cases, doctors performed lobotomies, procedures that left patients in a zombie-like state, while others were simply locked in dark, cramped rooms for days or weeks at a time. One of the most disturbing moments in Town of Light is when Renee recalls being restrained and sedated. This wasn't exaggerated for effect. It was standard practice within the real hospital. Patients who resisted treatment were often tied to their beds for days, injected with high doses of sedatives to keep them docile, or locked in isolation rooms with no explanation. These treatments certainly weren't meant to help, they were more meant to control. Once inside Volterra,
Control. That's disgusting, right, chat?
Leaving was nearly impossible. The very nature of psychiatric commitment laws meant that the patients had no real voice. They were labeled as insane, and anything they said
I don't know. I'm actually scared of
as delusional. Families often relinquished all legal control, leaving the hospital's administrators with
I'm scared of asylum games, so like
some patients
Outlast.
Decades
that's what I think of when
conditions that modern medicine would very easily treat.
When someone mentions like a mental institute game, is like Outlast. I never want to play that.
Volterra finally closed. In 1978, Italy passed a law shutting down many psychiatric hospitals, including Volterra. But when the doors closed, many patients were left abandoned. They had nowhere to go, no families to return to.
Yeah, psychological horror is actually my favorite genre, but it scares the shit out of me.
In the Town of Light, you see this desolation firsthand.
No, you do not need to play Outlast. It's fucking
supernatural creatures. It doesn't really need
every time I watch
to.
someone play it, I just get like, no, they was lose a finger or some shit. Fuck that.
In 2010, a German game developer named Jens Stober created a video game that almost no one would think to make. It wasn't
what game is this, bro?
House or being chased by monsters. It was something much more real. Something still fresh in the minds of those who lived through it. The game was called 1,378 kilometers, named after the exact length of the border that once divided East and West Germany during the Cold War. But this wasn't just a history lesson. To understand why this game caused so much outrage, you need to know that after World War II, Germany was split in half. The western side became a democracy backed by the US, UK, and its allies, while the eastern side became a communist state controlled by the Soviet Union. The problem being was that that life in the East was miserable. The government controlled nearly every aspect of daily life, and people weren't
we're
allowed
getting
to
our
leave.
history
By the late
check.
1950s, millions had already fled to the West in search of a better life. The solution, according to East German leaders, was simple: build a wall. In 1961, the Berlin Wall was constructed, a deadly barrier stretching across Germany, trapping millions of people inside the communist-controlled East. And it wasn't just a wall, it was a killing zone. Border guards were ordered to shoot anyone who tried to escape, and over the years, hundreds of desperate people were gunned down trying to cross it. Fast forward to 2010, and this is exactly what the game recreated, as you have the option to play as one of these border guards, and your job was to stop defectors from escaping, and stopping them didn't just mean blocking their path. It meant you had the option to shoot them.
You're gonna get
At this
away!
moment, the game crossed the line for many. Survivors of the
These are all
Berlin
single
Wall
player?
era, many of whom had lost family members to the
Oh
border
no,
shootings,
fuck Outlast
were
2. No,
horrified.
fuck
News
that.
outlets
Fuck
called
all the
the game
Outlast games, they're so
disgusting
scary
and
for me.
offensive.
No.
Many saw it as
And
an
the people
insult
play
to
the
those who had
Outlast
died trying to
Trials.
escape.
Would
Chris
you play
Geffroy,
Outlast
one
Trials?
of the last people shot while trying to flee to the West, was gunned down at just 20 years old for attempting to escape a life he never chose. Was this game really an educational experience, as the developer
He's
claimed,
just killing
or was
pigeons?
it something worse? A simulation of murder wrapped in the excuse of history. The backlash was so strong that just days before its official release, the game was pulled. Jens Stober defended his work, saying that he never meant to glorify violence. Instead, he wanted
Yeah, I was
players
like
to understand
confused
the
about
weight
the
of
point of this
history. But to
game.
many, that wasn't enough. With tensions escalating, the game's planned release date, October 3rd, 2010, was supposed to be symbolic. It fell on Germany Unity Day, a national holiday celebrating the reunification of East and West Germany. But instead of serving as a
I
moment
was
of
simulating
reflection, as the developer
PUBG
would have
games,
hoped,
you know,
the
like
timing
battle
only
royales,
added
like go
fuel
get
to the
him,
fire.
chat,
Critics saw it
get
as
him.
an insult, almost like a slap in the face to those who had suffered under the Berlin Wall.
What's the next
Jens
one?
didn't cancel
Aura.
it entirely.
Aura,
He
you're
postponed its
Spongebob.
release indefinitely, saying he needed to rethink how it was going to be presented. He insisted that he never
Let's go to this one.
Velvet Assassin is a stealth action game that dropped in 2009, letting players step into the shoes of a World War II spy named Violet Summer. It plays like a typical wartime thriller, sneaking through enemy bases, taking down high-ranking officers, and sabotaging Nazi
or is this trying to get
operations.
the
But what
Emma
most players
Frost
might not
thighs
realize is
emote.
that Velvet Assassin is directly inspired by
Yeah,
a real-life secret agent. But her story is
From
based
the other
on Violet
channels.
Sabo, a British spy who operated in Nazi-occupied France. Sabo wasn't just any soldier. She was part of the Special Operations Executive, or SOE for short. It was a covert British group
Kiliar,
that
my
sent
grandma
agents
had a
behind
brother who
enemy
was on the
lines
east
during
side
World
of the
War
Berlin
II.
Wall.
These
Oh,
weren't just
shit.
standard soldiers, they were saboteurs, intelligence gatherers,
Damn.
and assassins, trained to fight and disrupt the enemy from within. Velvet Assassin places you in
Means your
similar
grandma's brother
high-stakes
had a lot of
missions,
stories?
sneaking through dark corridors, hiding in
Trying
shadows,
to?
and
My-
eliminating officers
Yeah,
with
you're the only
silenced
one that can use that
weapons. But
emote.
what Velvet Assassin doesn't tell you is that the real Violet story had no Hollywood ending. She didn't have the luxury of a health bar or checkpoints. The game might be inspired by her story, but it leaves out the most chilling details. And what happened to the real spy was far more disturbing than anything you see in game. The real Violet was born in France in 1921, but grew up in London. When World War II broke out,
Yo,
she
what's up,
married a
Egg
French
Alter? What's
Foreign
up? What's
Legionnaire
up?
named Etienne Sabo, who later died in battle. His death fueled her determination to fight back against the Nazis, and in 1943, she was picked up by the SOE. Sabo was sent on her first mission to France in April of 1944, just 2 months before the D-Day invasion. Her job was to gather intelligence, coordinate sabotage operations, and arm local resistance fighters. She completed the mission successfully and returned to England, but the fight wasn't quite over yet. Her second mission would be her last. In June of 1944, just after D-Day, Sabo parachuted back into France. Her new mission was to help organize resistance fighters and disrupt German reinforcements moving towards Normandy. But before she could fully complete her objective, she and
feel like
her
a
team
lot
were
of
ambushed
games
by Nazi soldiers at a roadblock near the
have,
town
like,
of Salon-la-Tour.
actual
The Velvet Assassin
historical
version of
events
this
that
moment would
occur,
likely show
and
our
then they do
spy
their own
fighting
spin
her
on
way
it.
out, escaping into
Obviously,
the night.
right?
In reality, Sabo had no such luck.
Do you
With
guys
no way
like
out,
it
she
when a
covered for her
game
comrades,
matches a
holding off the enemy
historical
with a
event
Sten
to the
gun
T?
while they escaped.
Or
She
do you
fought
like
until she
seeing,
ran out
like,
of ammunition,
the
and then
alternate
she was captured. At first, she was taken
timelines,
to
their
Limos,
take
where
on
she
it? Because I know
endured brutal
FGO, you know,
interrogations at the hands of the
FGO, their
Gestapo. But
characters
despite
are
their
based
torture,
on,
she
you know,
refused to
actual
give up
heroes,
any
actual
information.
people
Instead of breaking, she
in
responded
historical
with sarcasm,
events.
even mocking her captors. This defiance only
Does
made
their
things
lore
worse for
matter
her.
the
From
most when it
Limos,
comes
she was
to
transferred to French
characters
prison
that
in
you like?
Paris, where she was held in solitary confinement. Then, in August of 1944, As the Allies pushed further into France, she was sent to Ravensbrück concentration camp in
Tell
Germany.
you what
This
I
is where her
know,
story
every
took
game
its
has a
most
hidden
tragic
meaning
turn.
message
Ravensbrück wasn't
they
just a
try to
prison,
send to
it
the
was a
player.
nightmare, a
Yup.
brutal women's
There's always
concentration
some sort of
camp
like
where thousands
moral
were worked
story
to death,
or
tortured, or executed.
testing
It was
your
here that Violet
values.
Sabo spent months enduring forced labor, starvation, and unimaginable cruelty. Then, in early 1945, just a few months before the war would end, she was taken to an execution site inside the camp. Along with 2 other captured SOE agents, she was forced to kneel and was subsequently shot. She was only 23 years old.
Me too,
The world had
Yabano.
only learned
I like it
what
when a
happened
game
to her
knows how to
after
make the
war, and
historical
survivors from the
stories
concentration
and
camp
more
told the
engaging
horrifying
and intrigue
truth. The
my
game Velvet
curiosity
Assassin
too.
may honor her memory with a fearless protagonist, but it stopped
I've
short of
actually-
telling her full
so-
story.
Like truthfully, up until like I finally hit the Roman and the Greek gods and all that stuff, it was really hard for me to sit through a lot of history because of how sad it is, you know? And then, I don't know, it kind of drives me crazy that later on in life you learn that some things that you learn in school didn't actually happen. You learn the truth, you know what I mean? But I don't want to get political or anything in
here. It's a horror
here.
game based on a Taiwanese
The
urban
Bridge
legend,
Curse
but
2?
that's not why it's in this video. The first game took place at Tonghai University, a real school in Taiwan, where a bridge is said to be cursed by a spirit. According to the legend, if you try to cross it at night, you might find yourself walking in
Brawl, you have a
circles,
good, you have a
unable to
good
escape.
drive.
Some
Doing
say the ghost
pretty
of a
well,
woman
I go
appears,
per.
trapping
Whoa.
those who disturb her. The second game builds on that fear, but this time it introduces something even more unsettling.
What's
A
introducing?
mysterious girl, a haunted elevator, and a sense that something unnatural is at play. The game's main character find themselves in a
Oh,
situation
I hate long
that
corridors
feels
so much.
terrifyingly familiar. The game's setting is a university, but it doesn't feel like one. The halls are too empty, the shadows move when you aren't looking, and worst of all, you're being watched. The protagonist doesn't know how or why they got here, but they know they need to get out. Players must piece together clues, navigate through dimly lit hallways, and avoid an unseen force that's always lurking nearby. One of the most unnerving parts of the game happens in an elevator. It seems simple at first. You watch a woman.
I don't know. I think the
camera,
scariest
waiting for the doors
game
to
I've
close,
played
expecting to
would
reach
probably
another
be
floor.
Parasocial.
Things
I didn't
don't
even
seem
fucking
quite
finish
right.
that game,
The woman
dude.
moves
I refunded
strangely,
that
jumping
shit
out
as
the
fast as
elevator
I
and
could.
clinging to its walls.
Ow!
For some players,
This is
this
how
scene was
real
unsettling
things
for a
can
reason they
be.
couldn't quite explain. Then it clicked. This wasn't just another horror game.
Yeah,
It felt
remember
eerily
that
similar to
shit?
something
I was
they had
so
seen
scared I
before,
stopped playing
something
it.
real. A security
I wonder
camera
if I have it
recording of a
recorded. I
young
don't
woman
remember.
in an elevator, pressing buttons, stepping in and out, and looking as if something was following her. That woman was Elisa Lam, and her story remains one of the most disturbing unsolved mysteries. In February of 2013, the Los Angeles Police Department released a strange surveillance video to the public. It was grainy, taken from an old security camera inside an elevator at the Cecil Hotel. At first glance, it may not seem out of the ordinary, but the longer you watch, the more unsettling it became. Elisa Lam, the woman in the footage, was a 21-year-old student from Canada who had been traveling alone through California. She was supposed to check out the hotel that day, but she never did. Her parents, who had been in constant contact
She
with
went
her,
missing?
stopped hearing from her entirely. Concerned, they reported her missing, prompting a police investigation. At the time, no one knew what had happened to Elisa. All investigators had was this bizarre elevator footage recorded shortly before she vanished. The video shows Elisa
Wait, she just,
stepping into
like,
the
chilled at
elevator
the-
and immediately
the-
pressing
here, and then
multiple
she just
buttons, as if
disappeared?
she's
What?
unsure where she wants to go. The doors, however, don't close. Seconds pass. She leans out and looks down the hallway, quickly pulling back as if she'd seen something or someone. Then she hesitates, stepping in and out the elevator, glancing nervously in both directions. As the video continues, her behavior becomes even more disturbing.
Should
At one
it,
point,
like,
she
going
presses
to an
herself
elevator
against
by
the
herself
wall
is kind
as
of
if she's
creepy.
hiding.
It's kind
Her
of
body
scary.
language suggests
I try to
panic, but
avoid
there's
it.
no visible threat. Eventually, she steps out of
It's
view
kind of scary.
entirely. The
I
elevator
actually
doors,
don't
which have
want to
remained
ever get
open
stuck in an
for far too
elevator.
long, suddenly
Guys, have you ever been
close.
stuck in
But
an
by
elevator
then,
before?
Elisa is no longer inside. The footage ends. The video went viral almost immediately. People
I
were
have, and I
disturbed by
hated
how
it.
unnatural her behavior seemed, and tons
It was
of
kinda
theories
scary,
began to
dude. It was
spread.
kinda
Some
scary.
believed she was hiding
There was
from
so many
someone,
people
a
in there.
stalker, a hotel employee, maybe
Fuck,
even
it's
an
so
unseen
scary.
attacker just outside the camera's view. Others thought she was under the influence of drugs, experiencing paranoia or
And I heard that.
hallucination, but
No, not that I
autopsy
heard.
later
I've
revealed that there
seen
were
this
no
scary,
traces
this
of
horror
drugs or
movie.
alcohol in her
It's
system,
with
apart from small traces of her
Josh
prescribed
Peck in
drugs,
it,
as
I
Elisa
think?
was diagnosed with bipolar
It's based on an elevator and they're all stuck. It's kind of insane. I think it was that one. I'm not sure. I might have my facts wrong.
Yes, including serial killers like Richard Ramirez. Some believed Elisa wasn't alone in that
You've been stuck in a small room before, but never in an elevator?
Oh
Oh man, a small room I'd rather be stuck in, but in an elevator? I get scared.
Where did Elisa go?
Especially when you don't know which floor you're on, and it's like a tall building. Oh god, it's so scary.
When hotel guests began complaining about
I'm talking about Josh Peck from Drake and Josh.
What happened next would turn this from a missing persons case into one of the most infamous mysteries of all time. As the game progresses, another eerie connection begins to surface. The presence of water
claustrophobia
spirits,
is real.
Particularly in Asian folklore, where drowning victims are said to
I hate
become
tight
restless
spaces,
ghosts.
especially in games. I like my personal space. I like my bubble to be untouched. I stay in my bubble, you stay in
Even
yours.
the authorities still don't understand
my
how she
personal
got there.
space.
The developers have never confirmed that they were inspired by Elisa's case, but the similarities are undeniable.
Yeah, the similarities are there, dude.
You start in the middle of nowhere, snow-covered mountains stretching as far as the eye can see. Your only guide is a flickering flashlight and the distant sound of your own footsteps. The deeper you go, the more unsettling it feels. The loneliness, the paranoia, the overwhelming sense that you're not alone. This is Kolot, a horror game unlike any other. There are no monsters lurking in the dark, no jump scares every few minutes. Instead, the terror comes from the emptiness, from the feeling that something terrible happened here, and that it could happen again.
Oh, so then
this isn't just
your mind starts. So in games like these, your mind starts to play tricks with you. Oh, that's what I hate that. I hate that. It's unsettling.
So chilling, so
wait, Butters, you played this game too? You used to be okay with tight spaces since you loved climbing around and vibing in low corners, but when I was tiny, I am now in fact. Oh wait. Oh. Is the real? You have? Oh god. So your brain starts to play tricks with you when nothing's happening, right?
Theorists for over 60 years. It all started in 1959 when 9 hikers vanished in the Ural Mountains.
You have this fear in your life? Oh my.
Their bodies were discovered weeks later, scattered across the snow in ways that
the snow or the claustrophobia? I mean, you don't have to elaborate.
Some were found barefoot, half dressed in the freezing cold, with some of their bodies covered in strange injuries, broken bones without external wounds, missing eyes, and one of them had a missing tongue, and no one could explain why. The deeper
missing
we go, the
tongue?
stranger this mystery becomes. One of Kolot's greatest strengths is how accurately it recreates the brutal conditions of the Ural Mountains.
Dude, the tongue just
life,
like froze and like chipped off, right?
Circle, which translates to Dead Mountain in the local Mansi language. The game's title is obviously a direct reference. The game's environment captures the harshness of the terrain too. The deep snowdrifts, the lack of shelter, the eerie silence of the mountains at night.
It got worse when you lay awake in a pitch black of night seeing silhouette. Ah, fuck that!
And the unpredictable weather likely made survival even more
I'm
difficult.
struggling with
However,
Silent Hill a little
even
bit.
Emptier than in reality. The real
because when I'm doing puzzles, when I'm doing puzzles, so I have this fear that like if I fuck up enough times, I'll get jump scared. Like my brain starts to fuck with me because, all right, fine, spoilers, but you know I got stuck in a puzzle on the next video that you're gonna see because my brain thought that I was gonna get jump scared for fucking up too much.
Other expeditions in the area, though none close enough to intervene.
But you're not gonna know till you watch it.
Amplifying the horror. In Kolot, you don't start inside the hiker's tent. You're already out in the cold, left to piece together what.
So if you learn about a
happened.
group of guys getting lost in the wilderness, not all of them got.
The biggest mysteries. Rescuers found it still standing, but with a crucial detail. It had been slashed open from the inside, implying that the hikers had been so desperate to escape that they couldn't even have used the tent's entrance. They cut their way out and ran half-dressed into the freezing night. The real horror of the incident lies in how the bodies were discovered. Some were found nearly a mile away from the tent, wearing little clothing, as if they had fled in pure terror. 3 had massive internal injuries, being broken ribs and crushed skulls, but 0 external wounds, leading investigators to compare it to the force of a car crash. One victim, Ludmila Dubinina, was found without her tongue and parts of her face. A few had traces of radiation on their clothes too. In Kolot, there's a constant feeling that that something is out there watching you. But in reality, no evidence of an attacker, human or otherwise.
I get the same
found.
feeling in
The way
Paranormal.
Colette
I
presents its
hated it.
world
I
mirrors
hated
the
it.
hiker's disorientated movements. The game forces you to navigate with only a map.
Yeah, you
compass,
get
and
hungry here. Like,
coordinates. Obviously
there's nothing
similar to the
around. It's hard to
real-life
move.
expeditions methods. It's easy
And then,
to
like,
get
your
lost,
face is,
panic,
like,
and end up somewhere you
frozen
shouldn't
as
be,
fuck.
just like the real hikers. The game leans heavily into the supernatural, hinting at shadowy figures, glowing entities, and forces beyond human understanding.
So
While
I
the real
played Sons
case
of the
is surrounded in
Forest for a
mystery,
bit
most
with
theories focus on natural or
with the
man-made
gurus. It
explanations.
was fun. It
Some
was
believe a
fun, but like
small,
we
delayed
first stopped at the
avalanche forced
mountain,
hikers to flee in panic.
and we were new to the game, so we were scared as fuck. Eventually, we found a really nice place in Sons of the Forest. Two. Sons of the Forest 2. You eventually found a really nice spot. We learned that if we're by the water, and you're not surrounded completely by land, it's a lot easier to control the hordes and stuff, or the raids.
However, there was no evidence of an avalanche at the site, and it doesn't explain some of the severe injuries found on some of the bodies. Others suggest the hikers accidentally stumbled upon a secret weapons test. Colette taps into this idea with references to classified Soviet documents and a cover-up. The game isn't a history lesson.
I like
It's an
indie games,
experience
guys,
designed
but
to make you feel the
I
same
prefer
fear and
watching
confusion
someone
that
play it.
hikers might have felt. The landscape
And I
is
bet you-
accurate, the sense of isolation.
Why would you guys actually like watching me play these scary games? I'll get stuck forever, dude.
Because
my brain will be fucking with me, dude.
Colette doesn't try to solve the case. Instead, it keeps the mystery alive, leaving you wandering the frozen wasteland, searching for answers, just like investigators have done for over
One turn
60
to a
years.
Wendigo? Oh, not.
Every now
That's
and
until
then, the
dawn.
game
That's until dawn.
unintentionally mirrors
What the
reality in
fuck,
ways
dude?
that
What
are
is
hard to
this?
ignore. This is one such case. Released in 2017, Granny became one of the
Wow,
most
fuck
popular
this! I'm not
mobile
even
horror
playing the
games
damn
of its
game.
time.
Fuck,
The
fuck.
concept is that you wake up in a rundown house, locked inside by a grey-skinned, hollow-eyed woman. She's old, frail-looking, but don't let that fool you, because Granny patrols the house, reacting to every sound. If you knock over a table,
Please
she
don't
hears
hit
it.
me,
If you
Grandma,
step on a
please,
creaking
please,
floorboard, she's already on her way. She moves at an unnatural speed, chasing after you the moment you make a mistake.
Were you
If
guys
she
trying to
catches
bonk me all
she
this
knocks
time?
you unconscious with her bat. You have
Oops.
5 days, 5 chances to find your way out before something terrible happens. Though what if something like this
Oh, you guys
actually
were trying to
happened?
bonk
A
me,
real
yes.
life case so eerily similar that I think the game
Here you
definitely draws inspiration. St. Petersburg, Russia, 2015. An elderly woman
Okay, I
is
saw
spotted on
3,
a
that's enough.
security camera, casually walking near her apartment building. Nothing unusual, except for the fact that she's carrying a large plastic bag, a heavy one.
I
A few
understand,
hours
I'm the
later,
same, but
police
it's mixed
receive
for
a
me. I
report
want to
a
play scary
disjointed
games myself, but
torso
like,
had been found
I
near
do
a
watch
pond.
people
No
play the
head,
game
no
instead.
arms, no
Yeah!
legs, just a torso. It doesn't take long for authorities
I
to track
like
down the
watching people who are
suspect,
good
and
at
when they knock
scary
on her
games, but
apartment
you know,
door,
it is
they
kind of
find
entertaining to
Tamara
watch someone get
Samsonova,
spooked.
68-year-old woman sitting calmly in her chair like nothing had happened. But when police search her apartment, they uncover something else.
It's based on you,
Dozens of
Grandma?
handwritten diaries filled with detailed notes about murder. Casual entries describing how and when she murdered people as if it were a routine part of her life. They found plastic
majority
bags
vote
filled
in
with rotten
VC?
flesh hidden
I
around
would
the
get
building.
distracted
Some
too
reports
much.
even suggest that she may have even eaten parts of her victims.
I almost
One
finished The
diary
Walking
entry dated
Dead,
September 2003
someone's
reads,
playthrough.
I killed my tenant Volodya, put the
But I
pieces
kinda
of his
lost
body in
interest.
plastic bag, and
So
threw
I'm
them
like
away in
halfway
different
done with the
parts of
fourth, the
Ruzhensky
final one.
district. Another entry from March 2015 details the
First one
murder
was just
of
too good.
Valentina Ulanova, the 79-year-old woman she'd been living with at the time of her arrest. Valentina had
You've
been her
never been
friend,
scared by a
according to
game
Tamara's
before?
diary. She had become too difficult to live with. Tamara's solution to the little problem was to crush a handful of sleeping pills into her food,
Yeah, Walking
wait for
Dead's
her to
really
lose
good, Jackie.
consciousness, grab a hacksaw, and I think you can imagine the rest. When questioned by the police, Tamara never showed any remorse. At times, she smiled and even laughed when describing what
Why are
she'd
you
done.
laughing,
The media
Grandma?
quickly gave her the name the Granny Ripper, a woman
Granny
who had spent
Ripper?
years luring people into her home and making sure they never left. I personally think the similarities between Granny and the Granny
Grandma invited you over for some milk and cookies, but in reality, you were the milk and the cookies.
Ripper are too bizarre to ignore. Both are old women living alone in decaying homes with something deeply wrong beneath the surface. Both trap people inside
she's
their
like
own
the witch
homes,
from
one trapping
Hansel and
victims in the
Gretel.
game, the other in real
Except her
life.
house
The
is not
video
made
game
of
Granny keeps a
gingerbread and
crossbow in her
all the
house,
nice
a small
snacks.
but crucial tool that players can use to fire tranquilizer
Wait, you
darts
can
at her.
fight! You can
If
fight
she
back!
collapses
Okay.
and stays unconscious for 2 minutes, giving you a chance to escape. In real life, Tamara Samsonova didn't need a crossbow. She allegedly dosed her victims in much the same way, sedating them so they couldn't fight back. Just like the game's tranquilizer, her method didn't kill immediately. It only made her victims
Yeah, based on
helpless,
Hansel and Gretel, I
ensuring
bet.
they had no chance to run. Then there's the most unsettling part, the unnatural quality they both share. In the game, Granny moves with disturbing speed and aggression, something that you wouldn't expect for someone so old. And yet in real life, Tamara Samsonova was much the same. Despite her age, she carried and disposed of bodies without any help. Unlike most serial killers, Samsonova was never sent to prison. After a psychiatric evaluation, she was declared
that's
legally
scary.
insane and sentenced to an indefinite detention in a high-security psychiatric hospital. During her trial, she made disturbing comments, at one point begging the judge to let her go so she could continue killing. Her words in court were, "I knew you would come."
Yo, imagine! She begged the judge to let her go so she can keep killing?
Such a disgrace for me. All this publicity. I am guilty and deserve to be punished. I've been preparing for this trial for 10 years. It is all deliberate. There is no way to live. But this last
Not my
murder,
grandma.
I
My
closed the
grandma's
chapter.
so
She was
nice.
committed to Kazanga
She
Psychiatric Hospital
she
in
makes me
2015,
eat.
where
She
remains
makes
to
sure
this
that
day.
we get like 3 or
You're
4 or
looking
5
at a
different
digital city
plates.
from above.
Even though
The
I'm
streets
full,
are
I'm
filled
like,
with
okay,
people,
grandma,
some just
I'll eat
walking
for
around,
you. Could
others
you
moving
cook all
with
this for me?
purpose. At first glance,
Thank you, Grandma.
everything might
Thank you,
seem
Grandma.
peaceful, but hidden amongst the crowd are terrorists.
Okay, this shit will like.
threat.
Honestly, this game would give me a fucking headache. I'm sorry. There's too much shit going on. Like, I remember when I Spy books and stuff were the thing, but I would get a headache because I'll get overwhelmed with all the little things like moving around and stuff. So maybe that's why I don't have an ant farm.
September 12th, a toy
One of
world
many
presents
reasons
you
why I
with
don't
one
have
tool, a missile launcher. There's no
Your
score,
Honor,
no
please
levels,
let me
no
go.
game over
I
screen.
promise to
You
just
click
oof.
to
Oh
fire,
my
and your
God,
missile strikes
Kudako.
the target. But the explosion doesn't just hit the terrorist. It spreads.
You remember this
Buildings
game?
crumble, and worst of all, civilians get caught in the blast. As their tiny figures collapse,
Well,
there are
I
many
don't know.
people in
This
the
is kind
city
of
react. They stop
crazy
what they're
game,
doing, some
damn.
run away, while others stand still, mourning the loss of those who were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Then something
You
strange
played
happens.
this?
Those mourning civilians begin to change. Their outfits darken, and they transformed into the very thing you are trying to eliminate. More terrorists appear,
Like-
blending into the crowd. The problem doesn't get
Well,
smaller, it grows. And the
Do you have
more
like a
missiles you
score or
launch, the
something,
more
or is there a
civilians you
story,
lose,
or?
and the cycle repeats. At first, it might just feel like you're not playing well enough. Maybe if you time your shots better, aim more carefully, or fire less often, you'll eventually wipe out all the threats. But that's the trick. There is no winning. No matter what you do, the violence continues. Every action you take feeds into the never-ending loop. September 12th
An
isn't a
endless
game in the
loop.
traditional sense. It's more like a simulation, not because it's hyper-realistic, but because it's meant to make you think. It doesn't tell you what's right and wrong. It simply lets you play and watch as the consequences unfold. You might already realize what this game is trying to say. Studies have shown that when civilians are harmed during counter-terrorism operations, it can increase anger towards those responsible. Family members and friends of the deceased may seek revenge,
kinda looks
becoming
like a-
radicalized themselves. This creates a sort of cycle. Violence breeding more
ant
violence,
simulator.
just like in the game. US military reports
Except
from
you're the one,
conflicts in the
pulling the
Middle East,
trigger.
particularly in Iraq and Afghanistan, have acknowledged that civilian casualties can have a direct impact on radicalization. One report from the RAND Corporation described how groups
ever
like
played those
Al-Qaeda
things?
use civilian deaths as
Like an ant
propaganda,
simulator?
turning public outrage into recruitment
Or creating
opportunities.
one?
Leaked military documents and intelligence reports, like the 2012 joint report by Stanford and NYU titled "Living Under Drones," highlighted a familiar cycle.
Oh, you
For
just
every
read about
terrorist
it? Oh,
killed,
okay.
civilians caught in the
Welcome back.
crossfire can fuel resentment, therefore potentially leading to new recruits joining extremist groups. Studies have found that airstrikes, whilst eliminating immediate threats, can sometimes increase long-term radicalization. The same concept plays out in September 12th. Each terrorist you eliminate only leads to more emerging from the grieving crowd. Even the game's name, September 12th, obviously hints at a real-world inspiration. It refers to the day after the Twin Towers was struck, when the United
Yeah.
States and its allies faced a critical decision. How should they respond? The invasion of Afghanistan soon followed, marking the beginning of the War on Terror, a war that decades later still impacts global politics.
What's this one? Chernobylite? Chernobylite?
Chernobylite takes place in one of the most unusual and dangerous places on Earth, the Chernobyl exclusion zone. This is an 100 square mile area in northern Ukraine.
I don't know anything
that was
about that.
evacuated after a major nuclear accident in 1986.
Oh.
But to understand why this area is so significant, you first need to know what happened at Chernobyl. On April 26, 1986, a routine safety test at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant went horribly wrong. Reactor 4, one of the plant's 4 nuclear reactors, exploded due to a combination of design flaws and human error. The explosion released massive amounts of radiation into the air, contaminating large parts of Ukraine, Belarus, and even reaching other countries in Europe. I probably don't need to tell you that radiation is dangerous because it damages the human body at a microscopic level. In high doses, it can cause severe burns, organ failure, and even death. In the days following the explosion, people in the nearby town of Pripyat, where most of the plant's workers lived,
like how
were
affects
told
your
nothing
genetics
was
going
wrong.
forward
Many
if you're
went about
exposed
their
to
daily
it?
lives unaware that they were being exposed to deadly levels of radiation. It wasn't until 36 hours later that authorities finally ordered an evacuation, but by then it was too late for many. Over the following months and years, thousands of people developed radiation-related illnesses, and a vast area surrounding the plant was deemed too dangerous for human life. Then the exclusion zone was created, a permanent no-go area stretching for miles around the ruined reactor. All the buildings were left abandoned.
Is that
Nature
area still
slowly took
considered
over, and time
dangerous
seemed to
for
stand
radiation
still in the
exposure and
remains
stuff?
of the town.
Like
What's
today?
even more eerie is that some of the places in the game no longer exist in reality. Over time, many of Chernobyl's buildings have collapsed due to weather, neglect, and radiation damage. In Chernobylite, they remain frozen in time, offering a look into the past that is slowly disappearing.
It is?
The exclusion zone
It won't be
may seem like
safe?
an abandoned wasteland,
Damn,
but it still
we're
has
dead as
life.
fuck
Over
and
the
it's still
years,
not safe
nature
there.
has reclaimed much of the area, and a small number of
Unless you're
self-settlers, people
like
who
some
refuse to
cosmic
leave or later
being and you
return,
live forever or
continue
something.
to live there. Creating a game set in the Chernobyl exclusion zone is one thing, but actually going there is another. But for the team behind Chernobylite, accuracy was everything. They didn't just want to
Kinda reminds me of
imagine
that
what the
place
zone
that,
looked like. They wanted to capture it exactly
the city
as it
that never
is.
stops
So instead
burning?
of relying on old photos or satellite imagery, they went in
Forgot where it
themselves,
was.
bringing with them cutting-edge technology and a mission to recreate the real Chernobyl like never before.
It's
To
like
achieve
there
their
were
goal,
coal
the
mines and then
developers
someone
used 3D
decided to explode
photogrammetry,
something
a
and
technique
then
that allows
things
them
got
to
caught
scan
on
real-world
fire and it's
objects and
still
environments
burning.
to create incredibly detailed digital models. They walked through the ruins of
3,000?
abandoned
Yeah,
villages,
we are
and even the
dead
remains
as
of the
fuck,
power plant
dude.
itself, taking thousands of photos from every angle. These images
I
were
can't
then
even
processed to
imagine
build
what year,
one-to-one
like,
digital recreations of actual locations, making Chernobyl like one of the most
5025 looks
visually
like.
accurate portrayals of the exclusion zone ever made. But this wasn't just about making the game look good.
Dude,
it was
it's
about
so scary,
preservation. Some parts of
AI and
Chernobyl are
stuff.
rapidly
It's so
deteriorating. By
tricky
scanning
these days,
locations,
especially the
developers are
cutting
able to
videos
digitally
of
freeze them
like
in
fruit
time,
and stuff.
allowing
It's
players
so hard to
explore
depict which one's
places that
AI
may
and
no
which one's
longer
not anymore,
exist in the
dude.
future. Entering the exclusion zone isn't as simple as just walking
I remember
in.
when they used to be
Radiation
called
levels
deep
vary across
fakes,
the area,
and now
with
it's just
some
like
places
AI.
still dangerously contaminated.
It's
While
scary.
certain parts of the zone have lower radiation levels and are safe for short visits, others, like the Red Forest, one of the most radioactive areas in the world, can be deadly. The developers had to follow strict safety protocols to avoid exposure.
Fallout?
They wore
I haven't played
dosimeters,
those
which are
games
devices
yet.
that measure radiation, to monitor their levels at all times. Some areas were off limits.
No,
so
fuck
others
that.
could
I'm not
only
gonna
be
visit
visited
that
for a
area.
few minutes
Fuck
before
no.
radiation levels became
I
unsafe.
got
Even
mouths
so,
to
they were able
feed.
to scan key locations, including the Pripyat amusement park, home to the famous rusted Ferris wheel that never officially
God.
opened, and the ruins of Reactor 4. Now,
Okay, you guys are gonna laugh at me for this, but Ferris wheels have been ruined for me forever because sometimes you're just like late night browsing on YouTube and then things just keep auto playing and all of a sudden, my obsession or my strange addiction or something like that shows up, and then someone was like in love with the roller coaster or something. Like, I don't know. It was so fucking weird.
Sealed under
It was
a
like
massive
late at night.
steel
Like,
sarcophagus
I mean,
to
like, I'm
contain the
sorry if you're going through
radiation.
some
But
stuff
one
and
of
you
the
need to go get
biggest
that
challenges
fixed, you know,
wasn't just
like
radiation,
get
it
some
was the
professional
feeling of
help.
the place itself.
Get some
Even
professional help, but I
decades
don't think a
after the
Ferris wheel can
disaster,
give you a
Chernobyl
hug, bro.
doesn't feel empty.
Unless you
There are
don't, you don't
obviously
like that kind of
crowds, no
love
bustling
language.
streets, but the silence itself feels unnatural. The developers described an eerie atmosphere, and they weren't alone in this feeling. Many visitors to Chernobyl report a similar feeling of a deep sense of unease, especially in areas
Dude,
where
I have
people
like
once lived.
videos from like 16 years
Here's
ago that are
fathom
showing
is
up in my
different.
feed.
Unlike games that adapt well-known
That's what's gonna
cases
happen
or
in my
urban
videos.
legends, Here's the Fathom builds its
It's
episodes
gonna reach
from
people in like
real-life
25
accounts
years.
submitted
Like,
by
oh look,
ordinary people.
finally
These
went
aren't
viral.
famous cases from history, and they're not the kind of stories that make national news.
Please make it
Instead,
be one of
they're
the good
personal
ones.
experiences, moments of terror that people have lived through and have never forgotten. Some of these stories were first posted on
Wait.
forums.
Someone fell in love with the Berlin Wall? Was that in like My Strange Addiction or my obsession or something? You're fearful of heights. Yeah, I don't like fucking Ferris wheels. I don't like them. I don't like them. My last experience going on a Ferris wheel wasn't too great. Honestly, this is my like, I don't know if you guys agree, but when I go out and stuff, I don't want to be on my phone. Like, I'll take a photo or so, but like, I know some people's livelihood is, you know, vlogging and all that stuff, but in that moment, I really wanted to like have my own cart, and yeah, I wish someone wasn't vlogging when I was on the Ferris wheel last time. It was cold as fuck too. Like I waited like like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and it's not cheap, guys. It's not cheap to go on those things. But for some reason they have heaters in some Ferris wheels. Some heaters, some lights, like, but yeah, it was like years ago though, like nearly a decade.
Reddit threads, or
Yeah, I don't
YouTube
like
channels
heights.
dedicated to real
Wait, what?
stories.
Because it's so close to the ground. Shut the fuck
The
up.
first episode, Home Alone, is the perfect example. The story follows a 14-year-old boy named Miles, left alone for the night while his mother is away. At first, everything seems fine. He follows his usual routine, grabbing food, watching telly, and chatting with a friend online. But then, something feels off. A strange figure appears outside. A knock at the door interrupts the silence. Then, Miles receives a text from his mother. Their neighbor, Paula, has just sent her a photo of a man standing outside the house. The message is clear. Lock all the doors and wait for the police.
Hey,
At this
BGN.
point, the
Hello,
unease
welcome in,
shifts into
BGN.
full-on panic. Suddenly, his own house,
Hello,
a
Mr.
place
Bra.
that should feel
You heard a
most
lot
secure,
of old
becomes a
lore.
prison, as danger could be lurking just outside. Or worse, is already inside.
You played
As
this
Miles
one?
hides
You
under
played
his
this one?
bed, he hears the sound of a window shattering from the master bedroom. Then
Fears
the
to
doorbell
fathom.
rings. It's Paula, but something isn't right. Miles is initially hesitant to go to the door, though when he eventually investigates, he can see the intruder's shadow near his parents' bedroom. At this point, he knows running is no longer an option. All he can do is hide and
Thanks
hope
for the
the police
hydrate.
arrive in time. The story was directly inspired by a submission featured on Mr. Nightmare's channel, where a person recorded a real experience of staying home alone and realizing someone was watching them. 1979
I don't like
Revolution
being
Black Friday developed by
I don't
Ink
like it. That's what I
Stories
hated
isn't
about the
just about
paranormal,
playing a character, it's about
parasocial
experiencing
game.
history firsthand. You step into the shoes of Reza Shirazi, a young photojournalist returning home to Iran, only to find himself caught in the middle of a revolution. Armed with just a camera, you navigate the streets of Tehran, capturing the protests, the fear, and the violence unfolding around you. But in a world where taking the wrong photo
taking
can mean
photos?
imprisonment or worse, every decision you make carries real weight. The entire
Whoa.
game is based on real events from 1978 to 79, and the people of Iran rose up against their ruler, the Shah of Iran. The game's creator, Navid Konsari, isn't just some random developer trying to tell a political story. He actually lived through the Iranian Revolution as a child. His first-hand memories, combined with interviews from over 40 real-life survivors, activists, and former prisoners, help shape the game's brutal realism. Unlike other games based on historical events, Black Friday doesn't just reference the past, it recreates it. What makes it more unique is its gameplay. Instead of combat, the game focuses on choice-based storytelling, similar to Telltale games like The Walking Dead. Dialogue trees force you to
that's
make
what I was thinking about. The Walking
lie
Dead.
to a soldier and risk getting
My
caught,
brain
tell
went
the truth,
immediately
and
to like,
betray
what if
your
all those
friends.
people turn
Every
into
action has
like a
consequence,
horde of
and often
zombies?
there's no right answer. But despite its focus on personal decisions, the game never lets you forget the bigger picture. The world around you is deeply immersive, built on real historical details. Protesters chant slogans that were actually
Watch
shouted
this get
in
remade,
1979.
dude.
Government propaganda plays over radios, echoing the Shah's desperate attempts to maintain control.
Like future
and
games
the
being
photographs
based
you
on
take in
this.
game are based on real images captured during the revolution, bringing
Something
history
seems
to life
like
in a way
similar though
textbooks never could.
these
For many
days.
players, this is probably their first real introduction to what happened in Iran. And for others, especially those who lived through it, the game was almost too real. In fact, it was so powerful that the Iranian government outright banned it. But what made it so controversial, and why was this revolution so dangerous to talk about, even decades later? On September 8th,
Yeah, it makes you
1978,
really
the streets
think
of
about
Tehran were filled
how
with hope
how
and
games
fear.
are
Thousands of
inspired, like
Iranians
how
had gathered
stories
in
come
Gala
to be.
Square to protest against the rule of Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, demanding the end to his dictatorship. They were unarmed, chanting slogans, holding banners, and standing together in defiance of a government they believed was corrupt and oppressive. What they didn't know was that they were about to walk into a massacre, one that would change the course of history. The Shah had already declared martial law the night before. Public demonstrations had been outlawed, and anyone who defied the ban would be dealt with by force. But the people still came. Protesters filled the square in the early morning hours, believing they had the right to speak out. The Iranian military was already waiting for them. Soldiers blocked the exits surrounding the crowd. Then the order came. Open fire. Machine guns tore through the crowd, sending protesters screaming and running in every direction. People collapsed in the streets, bodies piling up as bullets rained down. Witnesses recalled seeing soldiers shooting indiscriminately, gunning down men, women, and even children. Some tried to flee, but the military had already sealed off escape routes, trapping them in a killing zone. Estimates vary, but historians believe between 88 and 300 people were killed that day, with hundreds more injured. The Iranian government initially tried to downplay the violence, claiming only a handful of casualties, but the truth was impossible to hide. Survivors shared their stories, and photojournalists, risking their lives, captured images of the bodies left in the street. This was the moment that changed everything. Up until this point, the revolution had been gaining momentum, but it still felt like there was a chance for reform, a way to negotiate with the government. Black Friday erased that hope. For many Iranians, it was proof that the Shah would rather kill his own people than listen to them. The massacre radicalized the revolution. Protests became larger, angrier, and even more restless. People who had once supported the Shah turned against him overnight. Even members of the military, shaken by what they had been ordered to do, began to defect. In just a few months,
I
the
can't
Iranian
even make
government
like
would be on the
a
verge
joke
of
or anything right
collapse.
now.
In
Like, this is
1979
sad.
Revolution, Black Friday, the horrific event plays out in chilling detail. As Reza Shirazi, the player, is thrown into the middle of the massacre, forced to dodge bullets, capture the chaos with their camera, and witness the horror firsthand. The game doesn't exaggerate what happened. If anything, it tones it down compared to the real thing.
I wonder if the game, if you guys have heard of it before, Headliners, like took some inspiration from here.
They responded with brute force. Whether it was an international massacre or desperate act to maintain control, it backfired. Instead of stopping
It's a lot
the
more
revolution,
lighthearted.
fueled it. Many of the photos taken in the game are based on real historical images, and the game even shows side-by-side comparisons.
Headliners, it's
of
really
Razor's
fun.
photos with their
You
real-life
have to take
counterparts. Journalists in 1979 were monitored,
some really good
arrested,
photos
and even
for
killed their work.
headlines.
The game doesn't shy away from showing this reality, forcing players to face
You
the
guys should check it out. It's
consequences of
fun.
their
Go play it with
choices,
some
just as
friends.
the photojournalists
I
had
see
to
a
do
lot
at
of
the
you guys
time.
hanging
One of
out
the
on the
most
Discord.
terrifying aspects
Yeah,
of
yeah.
1979 revolution
I don't
is
know
the
if that
depiction of
if it's
Savak,
very
Shah's
pricey
secret
still
police. They are
or anything,
everywhere,
but
watching,
it's fun.
listening,
It's worth a
waiting for
try.
any excuse to detain and interrogate you. And this wasn't an exaggeration. Savak was very real, and it was one of the most feared intelligence agencies of its time. Established with the help of the CIA and Mossad, Savak specialized in surveillance,
Is
censorship,
Misaki
and
lurking?
brutal
Hey,
interrogation
Misaki.
techniques. Thousands of political
Yeah,
prisoners
we're
suffered at
we're
their
doing
hands. The game's depiction
our
of torture,
history.
imprisonment, and
Well, we're
forced
learning about
confessions is
history.
based on survivor testimonies, some of which describe conditions far worse than what the game allows players to witness. Many Iranians during this time lived in constant fear of being reported to Savak. A casual conversation could be twisted into an act of treason, and once someone was taken in for questioning, there was no guarantee that they would ever be seen again. The game's most haunting sequence is its depiction of Black Friday itself, the day the Iranian soldiers opened fire on the protesters in Gala Square. Everything from the layout of the square to the way the crowd moves and reacts was designed to resemble real footage and survivor accounts. The gunfire fire,
I know you did
screams,
that.
the people
I know
running
you
in
did
panic
that,
was
Oris.
all
I know you did
recreated
that.
based on descriptions from
You
those
know
who
what?
had been there.
Oh,
In this moment. You don't get to change history. You don't get to stop the massacre.
Fine, I'll
All you can
ignore
do is
you.
witness it, just as journalists did in 1978. From the moment the game was released, it was met with widespread praise. Critics called it one of the most powerful and unique historical games ever made. Players who had never learned about the Iranian Revolution were suddenly immersed
dude,
in
I
its
had
brutal
no idea what
reality.
to
For
expect
many,
with
it
this
was an
video, but I
eye-opening
learned a
experience.
lot.
But in Iran, the game wasn't just controversial,
Holy
it was
shit.
dangerous. The Iranian government didn't take long to respond. Shortly after its release in 2016, 1979 Revolution was officially banned in Iran. The government accused the game of spreading anti-regime propaganda, distorting history, and fueling Western narratives about the revolution. To them, it wasn't a game, it was a direct attack. Iran's National Foundation for Computer Games, the country's top regulatory body for video games, issued a statement condemning 1979 Revolution. They claimed that the game was developed as part of a wider effort to damage the country's image and misrepresent the past. According to them, the revolution was a people's movement, not the chaotic and brutal struggle depicted in the game. The government-controlled media called the game hostile and branded its creator, Navid Konsari, a traitor. The ban wasn't just about protecting the government's version of events, it was part of a much larger pattern of censorship in Iran. Since the revolution, the government has strictly controlled how history is taught and remembered. Certain events like Black Friday are rarely discussed in detail. Stories about human rights abuses under the Shah's rule are well documented, but the darker sides of the revolution
For people who had to
itself,
go
the
through this
mass
stuff,
executions,
when someone says
the
Black
political
Friday, this is on
purges,
their
are often
mind.
left out of state-approved history. Konsari, the creator of the
But
game,
for,
who
like-
worked on massive franchises like GTA, Max
Like,
Payne,
I'll be
certainly found
honest, I
himself in the
never
Iranian government's blacklist.
participated
As a
in
result, he has been
Black
unable
Friday
to return to
sales.
Iran. He expressed
You know,
concerns
the
about
day right
potential
after
dangers he might
Thanksgiving.
face
Like,
if he were
I
to
never,
go
I mean,
back, citing
you know,
Iran's
online,
record of
right? But like,
arresting
I've never
individuals
gone
without
out and
clear
shopping
cause, particularly
during those
journalists.
crazy
Konsari
times.
has been advised
I've heard a
against
lot of
traveling
crazy
to Iran
stories.
due to these risks.
All for
And
stuff that doesn't even
concludes today's
like
video.
matter
If
to
you want
you.
something else to watch or listen to,
But
there's a
man,
video
people
on
go
screen
through a
that
lot.
YouTube thinks you'll enjoy.
Fuck, that was insane. I learned a lot, guys. Guys, check out Sirius. Sirius created this video, disturbing games based on true events. I'm gonna give him a subscribe. I'm gonna give him a like. Yeah, they're good stuff. Good stuff. Oh God! What the fuck? Where are there fish on my screen? What? What's going on? Huh? Oh God. Oh, thank you.